Hey, welcome back to another edition of the Friday Show presented by Monmouth Park. I'm Ray Paulick, joined by Joe Nevills, bloodstock editor of the Paulick Report, and a special guest this week, Kenny McPeek. We're going to talk to Kenny about Swiss Skydiver's attempt in Saturday's Whitney Stakes at Saratoga. Third time she'll be running against the boys. First, though, Monmouth Park this Friday, there's a $201,241 carryover in the pick five. That's a 50-cent wager. It's the second through the sixth race. That's a 5:30 p.m. post time for the second race. Of course, you've got Saturday and Sunday, win early, pick five. That kicks off at 12:15 at Monmouth Park by the Jersey Shore. Kenny, welcome to the Friday Show.
Thanks for having me.
You're a busy guy, and I know it's been a difficult few weeks considering the fact that you've had horses that were quarantined as a result of the equine herpes virus. First of all, how is Swiss Skydiver doing?
She's doing super. She's had a really good summer up here. You might remember that she had a little shipping fever back in early June. And then after she got through that, we went ahead and brought her to Saratoga. So she's been in place here.
Oh.
You lost.
I think you muted yourself.
My phone will ring nonstop this time of day.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so I had to jump off or knock it off. But yeah, she's been doing super up here. She's been in place for a long time, and we're excited about this coming weekend. Unfortunately, our first plan was the Shuvi, but that didn't happen. So we've had to, I guess you could redirect, and really this is the only race she was eligible for in the scheme of things. So. She's doing well. She's beaten colts before, and so we're going to give her a run.
Yeah, heck of a redirect here. Going for such a lofty target. Who kind of drives the bus on the decisions in the past and present into we're going to try a run against the boys? Is that you? Is that owner Peter Callahan? Who kind of makes that call?
Well, last year I'm going to admit that I did a lot of that direction, and then obviously with Peter's blessing, he and I work parallel. It's been a owner-trainer relationship that I've relished for, going on, a decade and a half. And he's a wonderful guy and gets it. And he's a great sportsman. Last year I encouraged him to make the Triple Crown nomination after she had swept a couple of the filly races. And if you'll remember, they had cut the Triple Crown nomination in half for the late nom. And, that was a motivating factor. Okay, so instead of 6,000, we got to put up 3, and she had certainly earned her way and all that. And then the timing of everything, and we talked about it. The end of the year last year was unique in that there was no 3-year-old filly stakes races left in the end of the season. And so I told him, I said, if we nominate to the Preakness or the Derby Preakness Belmont Triple Crown, then there's a chance we might land in October because there's no place for a filly to go. So I'd like to have that option. So he gave me the green light to go ahead and make the nomination. And then after she had swept, she basically swept through Gulfstream Park Oaks. She went to California and won the Santa Anita Oaks, went to Oaklawn and won the Fantasy. She'd done all she could do against 3-year-old fillies. So we tried the Bluegrass, and the Bluegrass was a race that I thought was her right distance. Of course, Art Collector ran fantastic that day, and I had another very good filly in the Ashland as well, and I really didn't want to run them against each other. So we ended up with a second and a third out of that weekend, and that wasn't terrible. And, of course, the rest is history with the Preakness that fall. This year, we really kind of had to redirect because of not only had she gotten sick in June, she had this quarantine issue, or my whole stable has, which has been a little bit frustrating, chaotic, hard to understand, but we've gotten through it. But the only other race on the program, and here she's been ready to roll for a couple 3 weeks now. The only race that she's eligible for in the condition book is the Whitney. So it's not like this is rocket science. I didn't have a lot of choices. Plus, most states don't want you to ship out on top of these quarantine issues. So where am I going to go even if I wanted to ship? and I'm here already, and there's a million reasons to run, right?
Well, but like you said, she's done this before. And
Yeah.
the question I have is, do you look for anything physically or in the just the mental attitude of a horse that says, of a filly that says, I think she's one of those that can take on colts, and also the fact that she's got more travel miles than almost any horse in training, I think. What do you look for in a horse that can handle all the changes? A lot of horses don't like change, and she obviously thrives on it.
Well, last year she handled those changes, but she did it via an airplane. And this year we don't have an airplane. Most people don't know that Tex Sutton has been grounded, so we didn't have any capability of flying her this year. So if you're going to travel, you have to go FedEx, and the logistics have changed, and so that's made 2021 a lot more difficult than 2020 to get her around. And she's so why a filly against colts, you ask? For one, she gets weight. She's a big, strong. I mean, this is not she's no lightweight. I mean, when she comes in, she's going to be bigger than most of the boys Saturday. And she's a bull. And European racing, they don't think twice about doing this. In Australia, they don't think anything about it. If it's a big race, they run enabled. If it's a big race, they recently ran in the King George. You can make a case. In Australia, they do it all the time, and American racing tends to stay in your lane, per se. Oh, you're not supposed to get out of your lane. Well, I'm not always that. I've been known to do things a little different anyway. So, what the heck?
Now, you're pretty famous for being able to find a horse at auction at a low price and bring them up into high-level racing, and Swiss Skydiver is another example of this. Got her for $35,000, I believe. What did you see in her as a yearling that made you think that potentially, I mean, a level like this is something you can only dream about, but something that could make her a good runner for you at some point?
Well, okay, so when I go to auction, we're on a competitive playing field out there. It's really tough to beat guys. I can remember as a young trainer that I was starving to try to figure out how in the world can I beat Wayne Lucas. Well, Wayne Lucas had better horses than me. And so today there are guys that have better horses. And I've figured out, for whatever reason, I like to say I found the cheese, So if you put the cheese in the maze, I had to figure out a way to find it. So I go to auctions with the complete mindset of, I got to find the next good horse. I've got to find the horse that, and actually, I'm going to show you the hat that I wear. It just happened to be sitting next to me. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Secretariat. People say, why you wear that hat at the sale all the time? I said, that's the horse I'm looking for. Because for all of us that were inspired by horse racing when we were younger, and I guarantee, Ray, you were one of them, Secretariat was a horse that just captured everybody's imagination. So when I go to sale, I'm looking for, and of course you're never going to recreate Secretariat, but I'm looking for the horse that can do those kind of things. And if they don't have the right conformation, like she has an incredible hip, incredible depth of shoulder, balance, length of neck. There's a lot of what I'd call points of reference on thoroughbreds when you're analyzing their conformation and how they move and how they walk and the alignment of their legs and when they come back and forth. And then it's instinct. You've got to go on, is this horse showing energy? Are they showing intelligence? Is it, do they have some natural quickness to them? Is something innate? You can't measure it. It really is. It's a hunch. And so I love doing it. I never could train a slow horse to run fast. And, but I've made a few fast ones run slow. but anyway, it's something I'm passionate about.
At what point does pedigree come into play when you're at the sale? Do you not even look at the page in the beginning, or do you just look at the horses, or do you look at the pedigree first?
I never open a catalog going to a sale. I go to look at horses. I want to see every horse. I would like to turn over every stone. I want to see how they move. And then I squeeze them. I'll take from let's say there's 400 horses in a session. I'll do the math. Okay, what's the historic stakes winning production of this particular sale? Phasic tipped in July. It's typically a 9% auction, 8 to 9% stakes winners. I always say Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles could attend, and they're going to buy 9% stakes winners. But my job is to outpace that number, and then I'll take, let's say if it's 400 horses, there's 9%. I know there's 36 stakes winners in the auction. And then I'll work my list down to the 36 horses. And it doesn't have to be 36, but approximate number of horses that I think are physically capable of being a stakes horse. And then if I can raise that 9% number to 18 or 20% for my client base, then I've done a good job. I've beaten the market. And it doesn't matter who they're by. You ask pedigree. No, I don't really care. I like young stallions. If you buy out of a young mare and a young stallion, you beat the market to the punch. So if a young mare's never produced a stakes winner, or let's say she's an older mare that hadn't produced a stakes winner, then maybe that's an opportunity for me to get her first stakes winner. Okay. And if I get the first stakes winner, then maybe I only pay $35,000. Instead of 350 or $1.2 million or whatever the number is. So, I mean, look, it's a challenge. And I think a lot of the horses that I buy, I'm fortunate because I can buy a horse and put them through the program of breaking, early training, which one had speed, which one had stamina, which one's turf, which one's dirt. So then you start learning more and more about each horse you look at. And then you apply the pedigree to what type of horse you may have bought. If it's got female, Galileo on the bottom line, then you need to try grass with this horse. If it's a club-footed or box-footed horse with Mr. Prospector on the sire and maybe Deputy Minister on the bottom, then I know that this horse is more than likely going to be pigeonholed as a dirt horse. And then you've got to figure out how much turn of foot or natural speed they have. And class, you can't tell. Class doesn't really come out until you start rising up the level of the ladder of maiden, allowance, stakes, graded stakes. You can't even begin to define that when you're looking at them as yearlings.
Going back to the racetrack, you've brought some good horses up to Saratoga to win big races in the past. I'm thinking of Travis winner, Golden Ticket. You've got a couple Alabama winners, Eskimo Kisses, and Swiss Skydiver herself. What is it about Saratoga that so many people go their entire lives without figuring out that track? Is there a secret to it? What have you kind of learned about how to run at Saratoga?
Well, okay, so the first few years that I came to Saratoga, they whipped me. I mean, I can remember going over. And I've had some rough summers up here, but I think that's the challenge of it. I've never been one to put much emphasis in my win percentage. I think that's an overrated number. But if I buy a horse and then I put it at the highest level and it succeeds or fails, then I learn something. And the other thing that I really like about Saratoga is the great horsemen. There's great trainers, there's great owners, there's great jockeys. I mean, the whole challenge of it, if you can climb that hill, you can climb any hill. And, I worked my way I can remember being at Latonia before it was Turfway and ran at Ellis Park and sweating my tail off a lot of summers. If I'm going to sweat, I'd rather be at Saratoga.
Good man.
Well, let's take a quick look at this 5-horse field for the Whitney. I think we all know where the speed is, but how do you see Swiss Skydiver getting the job done?
Well, she's a pace filly. She's steady as it goes. She's what I'd call a 12 horse. If she can hit every furlong in 12 all the way around there, then she's a winner. You can't make her do anything too early. She's willing. If he pushed the button from the gate to the go, she'll do it, but she won't finish because she needs to rate herself. And when Robbie rode her, and Robbie very easily could ride her this weekend too. If he were up here, he probably would be. But he was really great at getting her to go 12, 12, 12. And if she goes 12 or all the way around there and she's able to see who she's supposed to run down, or if she's able to fight off whoever's trying to run her down, she's very good at that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all agree that Nick's Go is going to go. He's going to be on the lead, right?
Yeah, well, but we're not gonna get into chasing Nick's Go, and Nick's Go is not a very big horse. I think the track could play maybe against him because I don't think he's not a horse that is going to plow through a heavier racetrack, in my opinion, and she is.
Okay. And
is that an advantage? Horses for courses. Yeah. She's 1 for 1 here. Her work out over it. Irad said something interesting the other day when he worked her. He said at the 3/8 pole, the track is really heavy. I mean, really, he said he doesn't like that portion of the racetrack. He says he's worked horses here all meet, and they didn't handle the 3/8 pole or that last or that turn. And he said she handled it no problem. So, Saratoga can be a bit of a plowed field. I mean, it can be a deep, heavy racetrack, and it takes a really good horse to win over it. So we're going to leave it up to Irad, and we'll see how the pace unfolds. But we won't be forcing anything.
Well, I'm sitting out in the West Coast, and I haven't looked at the weather forecast. What do we expect for the racetrack on Saturday?
I don't worry about anything I can't control, and that starts with Mother Nature. And then the second is probably my 5-year-old daughter. So if it rains, it rains, and if it doesn't, it is what it is. We'll run even if it came off or if it's sloppy.
Well, Kenny, you've taken a few minutes to help us out here. I wanted to mention that you are the proprietor of Horse Races Now, the app that how many people have downloaded that app to watch races and get notifications and all that?
800,000.
Oh, wow.
800,000 people have downloaded the Horse Races Now app.
Yeah, and about 600,000 of those, I believe, are unique users with what we call useful email addresses. So that's been it's kind of been a toy project of mine. I believe horse racing needs to do a better job connecting to the masses, and we figured out a way to grow it. I mean, it averages 8,000 new users over the course of its time out there. That's per month.
Oh, wow.
7,000 or 8,000 new users per month. And we're getting ready to add some international data. We've had a lot of bumps in the road. I'm not going to deny it. We had some user interface issues, which we had to adjust with Apple and the Android or Google Play Store. We initially had live video on a lot of racetracks, but the cost of that was too much for us to handle. And then we went through a stage where we really wanted to let those 800,000 bet, and the industry hasn't supported that. Let's just put that gracefully as I can. No, they don't want to see us in that market, and we get it. But we really do have a great group of users, and like any given day, almost 20,000 people use the app in one day. Yeah. I wish we could find a way to make it grow, and I'd love to see between the Churchills, Stronachs, Nairas, and some others to say, okay, let's get behind it and let's really make it grow. But it's been fun for the most part, and I'm trying not to lose too much money on it, but we have lost a bit.
Well, as we're sitting here talking, I keep my phone keeps buzzing with notifications from your website app with news about industry things. So I'm a believer in it, and we want to wish you the best of luck. Not just in the Whitney, but throughout the meeting, throughout the year with all of your stable. And thanks so much for joining us on the Friday show this week, Kenny. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'll see you all at the races.
All right, great. And we'll be right back after taking a look at this week's Woodbine Star of the Week.
Emmeline testing Lorena. Emmeline's in front. Lorena under deep pressure. Money for Rowe, the outside looming. Turning in the Oaks, and Money for Rowe races up to Emmeline. Money for Rowe in front. Money for Rowe from Emmeline. Back in third is Il Malocchio, and it's Money for Rowe and Emmeline going on. Il Malocchio down the outside, but it is Money for Rowe. Money for Rowe and Justin Stein have the Woodbine Oaks. Money for Rowe by a length. Close for second between Il Malocchio and Emmeline. A gap away, Ewens was fourth, and then Curlin's Catch.
Boom, just like that. Our Woodbine Star of the Week is Money for Roe, who wins the Woodbine Oaks on August 1st. Wide all the way around in this race, broke from the outside post, managed to get the job done with a little bit left in the tank. Really impressive effort here.
I thought so too. What is it, the G-Max timing system? They don't show the number of feet traveled, but they showed that she traveled more than anybody else. Of course, you didn't need statistics to see that. Just watching the race, she never saw the rail. I mean, she was out in the middle of the track the last half mile, I think. Very impressive. And who knows? Maybe she'll go to the Queen's Plate. I think they're talking about that. And as we talked about with Ken McPeek, why not? Fillies against colts. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. And with the Queen's Plate, the Woodbine Oaks is a completely valid and successful prep for the Queen's Plate. Some recent winners of the Oaks who have gone on to win the Queen's Plate, Inglorious, Lexi Lou, Holy Helena. You go back a few years to some of the Samson horses, Dance Through the Dawn and Dance Smartly. It's been done, and it's been done plenty of times. So if they go, you absolutely have to pay attention.
5 of the last 20 winners of the Queen's Plate were fillies. So it's
an angle. It's a legit angle.
It has been done.
And shout out to Justin Stein for the ride on this one. You know, breaking out that far, you could give up on a horse pretty easily, but he knows how to win this race. This is his second Woodbine Oaks win. Also won aboard Academic in 2015. The man knows Woodbine as well as anyone, and just thumbs up for him.
And trained by Kevin Attard, one of the top horsemen up in Woodbine. She'll be a force going forward, whether she goes to the Queen's Plate or not. It's kind of weird to be talking about the upcoming Queen's Plate. Here we are in August. I can't wait for things to get back to the semblance of normalcy, hoping in 2022 we're back to a June start for the Queen's Plate. Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Friday Show. We really want to thank Kenny McPeek for talking a little bit about Swiss Skydiver and talking about his tactics at the sale. I found that really fascinating. And let's just say one more time, a big carryover in the Pick 5 Friday at Monmouth Park. This is the Win Early Pick 5 races 2 through 5. Post time for the second race is the Twilight 5:30, 50-cent wager, no excuses. Get your money down and play the Win Early Pick 5 all weekend.
Get paid.
All right. What are they supposed to do with the YouTube thing, Joe? What do the kids do?
Okay, so if you're watching this on YouTube, there's going to be some buttons below the screen on there. Like, share, and subscribe. If you're watching this on the Paulick Report website or elsewhere, maybe on Facebook, find the Paulick Report on YouTube. Hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons. There's a little bell on the bottom, too, so you get reminders. Just everything that helps the algorithm helps us, and we appreciate it.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week. Thanks so much to Monmouth Park for their sponsorship and to Woodbine. We'll see you next week.